Silakan kepada Bapak Yahya Cholil Staquf untuk menyampaikan welcoming remarks.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah wa syukurillah wa salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah Sayyidina Maulana Muhammadin ibn Abdullah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa mawalah. Para hadirin, para pembicara dan para partisipan yang saya hormati, saya akan menyampaikan pidato dalam bahasa Indonesia. Setelah berabad-abad sejarah peradaban umat manusia, setelah sekian lama sejarah yang diwarnai dengan kesulitan-kesulitan, keadaan-keadaan yang sulit di dalam hubungan antar umat beragama. Hari ini kita masih mewarisi realitas, kenyataan bahwa berbagai macam kelompok dari latar belakang agama dan keyakinan yang berbeda-beda masih terlibat dalam pertentangan, antagonisme, konflik yang didasarkan pada motivasi keagamaan. Sampai hari ini kita masih melihat kenyataan-kenyataan yang memprihatinkan di berbagai belahan dunia, di Afrika Barat, di Asia Selatan, di Asia Tenggara, di Eropa bahkan, dan Amerika dan seluruh belahan dunia. Kita seolah-olah mewarisi suatu keadaan saling kunci, gridlocks, karena pengalaman-pengalaman yang bermasalah di masa lalu di dalam hubungan antar komunitas beragama. Pengalaman yang sulit terkait dengan pertentangan, antagonisme dan konflik itu berlangsung begitu lamanya, sehingga seolah-olah mengendap menjadi kemapanan dari pola hubungan di antara umat beragama dalam waktu yang begitu panjang. Dan di dalam kemapanan itu, konflik, antagonisme, bahkan kemudian merembes ke dalam persepsi umat beragama tentang ajaran agamanya masing-masing. Kita tidak perlu mengingkari bahwa bagi sementara kelompok umat beragama, wawasan keagamaan berdasarkan pemahaman tentang ajaran agama masing-masing masih juga mengandung elemen-elemen, mengandung unsur-unsur yang dapat dijadikan pembenaran bagi konflik, pembenaran bagi pertentangan berhadapan dengan kelompok yang dianggap berbeda. Kita semua, para pemimpin dari umat beragama di seluruh dunia, perlu mengambil tanggung jawab untuk mencari jalan keluar dari keadaan ini. Kita perlu melakukan upaya-upaya untuk mengurai keadaan saling kunci, mengurai gridlocks ini. Karena gridlocks inilah yang terus-menerus menjadi api dalam sekam. Sehingga dimanapun dan kapanpun muncul suatu dorongan untuk munculnya pertentangan di antara kelompok agama yang berbeda. Unsur-unsur di dalam wawasan keagamaan masih dengan mudah bisa dipergunakan untuk mendorong hubungan yang semakin memburuk di antara kelompok agama yang berbeda-beda. Maka kita perlu bersama-sama berupaya agar potensi konflik yang dirujukkan kepada pemahaman dan wawasan keagamaan ini segera berakhir. Kita perlu membangun upaya bersama dengan pertama-tama mengidentifikasi dan menyepakati nilai-nilai apa saja yang kita semua sudah saling berbagi. Kita semua sama-sama memegangi sebagai nilai bersama di antara agama-agama yang berbeda. Ini akan menjadi rujukan dasar bagi kita semua untuk berjuang bersama, menjadi alasan bagi kita semua untuk bekerja sama, karena kita memiliki nilai-nilai bersama yang kita sepakati bersama. Tapi kita tahu dan tidak perlu mengingkari bahwa masih ada, karena kita memang berangkat dari sistem nilai yang berbeda-beda. Masih ada unsur-unsur di dalam sistem nilai masing-masing agama yang mungkin bisa digunakan sebagai pembenar untuk hubungan yang antagonis di antara umat yang berbeda agama. Maka kita perlu berpikir tentang nilai-nilai apa saja yang perlu kita pegangi bersama, yang kita butuh berbagi di antara kita, supaya kita bisa meneruskan hidup saling berdampingan secara damai, tanpa terus-menerus dibayang-bayangi oleh potensi konflik hanya karena ada rujukan-rujukan di dalam unsur-unsur wawasan keagamaan kita yang bisa digunakan untuk mendorong antagonisme dan konflik. Maka bila mana perlu, masing-masing komunitas beragama perlu mengupayakan suatu peninjauan ulang terhadap wawasan keagamaan di lingkungan agama masing-masing. Dan apabila di dalam wawasan keagamaan itu masih terdapat unsur-unsur yang bisa menghalangi koeksistensi damai di antara kelompok agama yang berbeda, kita harus memiliki keberanian untuk memikirkan interpretasi baru terhadap wawasan keagamaan ini agar hidup berdampingan secara damai lebih memungkinkan bagi kita semua. Gereja Katolik sudah pernah melakukan itu. Di dalam Vatikan kedua dihasilkan keputusan-keputusan keagamaan yang mendorong umat Katolik untuk bisa lebih menghargai kelompok dari agama yang berbeda dan lebih mampu untuk menerima kehidupan bersama tanpa pertentangan. Kita juga mengetahui bahwa belum lama ini pada tahun 2016 satu komunitas Yahudi, yaitu Yahudi Masorti, telah menyelenggarakan satu forum di antara para rabi dan menghasilkan satu dokumen yang sangat inspiratif bagi kita semua dalam hal menjamin hubungan yang lebih baik dan lebih harmonis di antara umat beragama, yaitu keputusan yang kemudian disebut sebagai dokumen Tetsufa, yang dengan jujur dan berani melihat ke dalam wawasan keagamaan Judaisme atau Yahudi untuk mendorong agar faham Judaisme ini dikembangkan dengan wawasan yang lebih menerima penghargaan atas kesetaraan umat manusia dan harmoni di antara kelompok-kelompok yang berbeda. Demikian juga Nahdlatul Ulama. Pada tahun 2019 yang lalu, kami menyelenggarakan satu konferensi nasional ulama-ulama Nahdlatul Ulama di Jawa Barat, Indonesia. Dan sebagai hasil dari konferensi nasional ulama tersebut, disepakati suatu wawasan yang merupakan rekontekstualisasi dari pemahaman tentang ajaran-ajaran Islam dengan menyatakan bahwa kategori non-muslim, kategori kafir, kategori infidel tidak lagi relevan dalam konteks negara bangsa modern. Karena setiap warga negara harus setara di depan hukum. Perbedaan latar belakang apapun, termasuk perbedaan latar belakang agama, tidak boleh dijadikan alasan untuk diskriminasi dalam bentuk apapun juga. Ini semua adalah upaya-upaya yang sudah dilakukan di antara berbagai komunitas agama yang berbeda-beda. Kita ingin membawa semangat ini untuk menjadi semangat yang lebih luas secara universal, mengajak seluruh komunitas beragama secara global untuk ikut di dalam semangat ini, membangun gerakan bersama untuk mengakhiri potensi antagonisme dan konflik di antara komunitas-komunitas beragama. Apabila kita berhasil mencapai ini, maka agama-agama akan meraih posisi moral yang kuat untuk menyeru kepada seluruh dunia, menyeru kepada kemanusiaan untuk menerima rujukan-rujukan nilai-nilai spiritual, nilai-nilai moral, nilai-nilai mulia dari agama-agama agar dimasukkan, agar dirembeskan, agar diadopsi di dalam dinamika pergulatan bangsa-bangsa, dinamika global, baik dalam struktur ekonomi global maupun dalam struktur politik global. Agar kita semua, seluruh kemanusiaan, kemudian bergerak bersama-sama menuju masa depan yang mulia bagi semua orang. Apakah ini mungkin? Bapak Ibu sekalian yang saya hormati, lebih 77 tahun yang lalu di Jakarta, tokoh-tokoh, pemimpin-pemimpin dari berbagai kelompok dengan spektrum perbedaan yang sangat luas. Pemimpin-pemimpin dari berbagai kelompok, mulai dari pemimpin dari kelompok Islamis sampai pemimpin-pemimpin komunis. Pemimpin-pemimpin dari kelompok yang mengikuti liberalisme barat sampai yang menuntut kepada rujukan kepada tradisionalisme Indonesia. Semua pemimpin-pemimpin dari semua agama besar yang ada di dunia berkumpul dan harus berembuk di antara mereka untuk mencapai satu kesepakatan yang bisa menjadi dasar bagi semua orang yang berbeda-beda di Indonesia ini untuk hidup bersama sebagai satu bangsa. Dan para pemimpin itu berhasil mengunduh nilai-nilai yang paling mulia dari setiap latar belakang agama, kepercayaan, dan keyakinan mereka, termasuk latar belakang ideologi mereka. nilai-nilai yang paling mulia untuk bisa diterima bersama. Sehingga lahirlah Pancasila. Sehingga lahirlah Undang-Undang Dasar 1945 dengan pembukaannya yang mencita-citakan peradaban yang lebih mulia bagi masa depan seluruh umat manusia. Ini adalah contoh bahwa sebesar apapun perbedaan di antara kita, kesepakatan bersama selalu mungkin. Marilah dengan semangat yang kita lihat dan kita rasakan sudah merupakan semangat bersama di antara kita semua ini. Kita lanjutkan dengan diskusi yang jujur, diskusi yang terus terang. Tidak perlu ada yang kita khawatirkan, karena kita ada di sini untuk menerima dan memaklumi perbedaan. Kita tidak akan saling menyalahkan, tidak perlu saling merendahkan. Kita tahu sejak awal bahwa kita datang dalam keadaan berbeda-beda. Mari kita akui perbedaan-perbedaan kita. Mari kita akui masalah-masalah yang selama ini telah menimpa kita bersama, agar kita mampu melihat jalan keluar yang tepat, jalan keluar yang valid, yang dapat menolong kita semua, dan insya Allah akan menolong seluruh umat manusia. Bapak Ibu sekalian yang saya hormati, sekali lagi selamat datang, selamat berdiskusi. Kita adalah umat yang beriman, kita percaya kepada Tuhan, kita percaya kepada rahmat dan berkat dari Tuhan. Semoga Tuhan senantiasa membimbing kita, melindungi kita, dan mengarahkan kita kepada upaya-upaya yang bermanfaat untuk umat manusia. Terima kasih. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Bapak Kiai Haji Yahya Cholil Staquf, for your welcoming remarks. Ladies and gentlemen, before we proceed to our next presentation, we would have video greetings from His Excellency Prabowo Subianto, Ministry of Defense of the Republic of Indonesia.
I would like to congratulate the organizers and the sponsors of the R20 activities, which is part of the G20 events in Bali and in Indonesia, November 2022. With harmony, with understanding, and with interfaith cooperation, we could achieve great strides in maintaining global peace and global harmony, which is essential for prosperity and the well-being of mankind. Thank you very much.
Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, now we would have a speech by His Holiness Pope Francis, Supreme Pontiff of the Roman Catholic Church, Vatican, will be represented by Apostolic Nuncio, Archbishop Piero Piopo, for a 15-minute speech. Please welcome Apostolic Nuncio, Archbishop Piero Piopo.
Your Excellencies, distinguished authorities, para saudara dan saudari, dear friends, I have the honor to read the message that His Holiness, our beloved Pope Francis, wrote personally to this R20 Religious Forum. To the participants in the G20 Religious Forum, R20, Bali, Indonesia. Dear brothers and sisters, I offer my cordial greetings to all taking part in the G20 Religious Forum, and I express my gratitude to those who have organized this event. Your meeting in Bali, which precedes the G20 summit, provides a fitting opportunity to reflect together as religious leaders and representatives on certain pressing issues and needs of our time. Prominent among these is the question of the role religions can play in finding solutions to the crises that nowadays affect not only individuals, but also entire peoples, countries, and the international community. For amid a globalized society, the great religious and wisdom tradition are called to testify to the existence of a shared spiritual and moral patrimony based on two principles, transcendence and fraternity. To speak of transcendence reminds us that the highest human aspiration cannot be excluded from the public life and relegated merely to the private sphere. Men and women everywhere, though belonging to different cultures, languages, religious tradition, ask the same and fundamental questions. Who am I? Where did I come? Why is there injustice, evil, death in the world? What is there after this life? Faced with these questions, the world's religions call us to look beyond the illusion of our own self-sufficiency and raise our vision to what is above, to God, who created us to be one human family and also offers life and hope to all. Sadly, the world is increasingly marked by the neglect of God and by abuses committed in His name. We must affirm that extremism, radicalism, terrorism, and other incentives to hatred, hostility, violence, and war, whatever their motivation or goals, have nothing to do with the authentic spirit of religion and must be rejected in the most decisive terms possible. Instead, it is our responsibility as individual believers and all leaders of our respective communities to foster the path of mutual dialogue, love, reconciliation that lead to peace in conformity with the plan of the Almighty. In this regard, religion, far from being a cause of the various crises we face today, is instead part of their solution. Let us then strive away to bear witness in daily life and concrete actions to the greatness of faith in God that unites divided hearts and elevated the human soul. At the same time, however, we cannot profess genuine fidelity to God if we do not also show love to our neighbor, in particular for the poor and the most vulnerable. Strengthening the bonds of fraternity, it is an essential contribution of religion to a healthy social fabric. In this regard, I encourage your effort to promote the integral human development of every man and woman, defend their fundamental rights and dignity, especially the sacred and inviolable character of human life, at all its stages and contribute to the harmonious coexistence of all in the society. Likewise, all of us, apart from the particular religion we profess, have a moral obligation to care for the earth, which is our common home, preserving for both present and future generations the beauty of the divine gift of creation. In carrying out these responsibilities, religious believers and leaders will greatly contribute to the building of a more fraternal, just, and peaceful world. These two specific contributions the religion makes highlight all the more the indispensable role of interreligious dialogue in healing a wandered humanity, shaping an ethic of concern for the earth, and sowing seed of hope for a better future. I trust, therefore, that your deliberations during the religious forum will, in a spirit of mutual dialogue, benefit the common good by recalling to men and women everywhere God's providential care for all that He has made, and the need to enhance the bonds of fraternal solidarity. In this way, your work can contribute to resolving the various crises that confront the human family, and thus truly serve the good of our brothers and sisters. With these sentiments, I express once again my heartfelt gratitude and accompany you with my prayers. Upon each of you and your loved ones, I invoke the abundant blessing of the Most High. Given in Rome from St. John Lateran, the 2nd of November, 2022. Signed, Francis, Pope.
Yes, Pope Francis. And now we would like to proceed to our next speaker. We would like to invite His Holiness Swami Sri Govinda Devgiri Maharaj, Treasurer, Sri Ram Janmabhoomi Trust from India. Please welcome.
Namaste to all. All honorable, respected messengers of the immortal faith. I'm excited that we are meeting at a very proper moment of the age when the world is expecting much from all the religious leaders. I'm coming from Bharat, that is India, and our rishis have told that God sent His messengers to every country, to every part of the world. And the messengers of one God, they have taught the same values, very noble, and they have given light in those dark days to helping hand for the humanity for better future. for last some time, we see that religion, which had been really expected to give solutions for human problems, some problems have been created in name of religions, not by religion, but in name of religions. And if we are to give the proper answer, the replies for these questions, the events like R20 are expected more and more in future. I congratulate the people who have arranged this, and really they have paved a very good way for better future of whole humanity. Really speaking, all religions have got essential similarities, and therefore it's expected that the core of all religious faiths should be equal. There may be some differences which have got some cultural, some geographical reasons, but yet religions are meant for the brotherhood of man. If brotherhood of man is to be stemmed, it can be only dreamt of by believing in the fatherhood of one God, one God. Since there is one God, we are naturally brothers and sisters. Though the geographical changes, some cultural, some historical problems might have shadowed the real message, yet the message is true. And the message of religion is the message of brotherhood, fraternity, and mutual love. Really speaking, religious people, the religions, they are not expected to have enmity, any kind of enmity between us, amongst us. If we are all facing one problem, all together, all faiths together are facing the problem of materialism today. The scientific development and the technological growth has led our young people to life of materialism, the carnal pleasures, and that have made them self-centered. And because of that, many noble thoughts are being disappeared from the minds of the coming generations. All of us should have the mission to implant the ethical values which all religions have got, the conscience, the way of self-restraint. This we must give to next generation. That is the mission of us all together. We also have got one task, that the scientific development has polluted the whole environment. We must come together and give shoulder to the mission for the protection of Mother Earth, because today the water, the earth, the air, all the elements are polluted. And it is the religious people, religious leaders, whose voice can be heard by the whole humanity in different areas, in different languages. And therefore, it is we people, not only the religious leaders, who can save Mother Earth from all this pollution. We must take it as our mission. And for that, we must have mutual dialogues. I am coming from the land of Vedas and Bhagavan Adi Shankaracharya. They talked of not only one family, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, you must have heard. The world is one family. It is from Vedas, it is from Yoga Vasishtha, it is from all of our saints. But they don't only say that the world is one family, they proclaim that the whole universe is one entity. We are inwardly one and one alone. And therefore, there is nothing like they and we. There is only us. And therefore, anything wrong done to anybody, by anybody, ultimately it is done wrong to the doer only. And therefore, we must have this consciousness. If this consciousness comes, there shall be no disharmony at all. For the peace, for the harmony, and for the brotherhood of humanity, we must imbibe each other's thoughts also. All the scriptures have given noble thoughts, but we have closed our eyes, closed our ears to study each other's. In Vedas, they say, let all noble thoughts come to me from every corner of the world. Ano bhadraha kratavo yantu vishwataha. Yantu vishwataha. Let all noble thoughts from all messengers in all faiths, let them come to me. Let me imbibe them. Let me practice them. Nobility coming from anybody. The thought of brotherhood coming from anybody. It must be welcome. And we are welcoming it. Brothers, really speaking, I think the meets like R20, what for they are, I think this meet should prove for the betterment of humanity, it should prove that R20 meet is a melting pot of all religious faiths. A melting pot. All religious faiths must come together. And with different languages, we should give the same message. The languages may be different, the words may be different, but the message must be one. And the message should be, as we say in Sanskrit, Sarve bhavantu sukhinaha, Sarve santu niramayaha, Sarve bhadrani paschantu, ma kaschid dukkha bhag bhavet. Sarve bhadrani paschantu. Let all see good only in his future. Let all be happy. Let all be healthy. And let all be totally devotional to the Almighty. The Vedic thought believes in the equilibrium, in the balance of the person, the society, the nature, and the ultimate God.
Thank you.
This balance is called yoga. And today, when we come together, it is also called yoga. We are here to balance the religious thought of the world. we are here to balance the whole emotional world with our own cooperation. And for that, we should shake hands together. We should come together. Not only in the meets like R20, but also in our personal and social life, wherever we are. If we come together in our own places, if we come together and discuss all these things in our own places, these meets shall be fruitful and they will create a new world which must be as our Saint Naneshwar Maharaj desired and prayed for the Lord. He said, "Oh Lord, give me a world in which everybody is basked in the total enlightenment and mutual love, the world of love, the world of enlightenment, and the world of total fraternity, the world of oneness." This we can create. It is not only our prayer, it is not only our expectation, it is a mission for us all, and let us take it upon our shoulders and be prepared for that. Thank you. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.
Thank you very much for His Holiness Swami Sri Govinda Devgiri Maharaj, Treasurer, Sri Ram Jamabhoomi Trust from India. Our next speaker will be His Excellency Sheikh Dr. Saukli Ibrahim Abdel Karim Alam, Grand Mufti of Egypt. We would like to invite Dr. Shauki Ibrahim to present his speech.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ومولانا رسول الله وعلى رسل الله أجمعين. أما بعد، أيها السيدات والسادة، اسمحوا لي في بداية هذه الكلمة أن أتوجه بخالص شكري وتقديري إلى دولة إندونيسيا رئيساً وحكومة وشعباً على دعوتهم الكريمة لحضور هذا اللقاء، وأخص بالشكر أصحاب المعالي الشيخ مفتاح الأخيار والشيخ يحيى خليل، رؤساء كبار نهضة علماء إندونيسيا. نشكرهم على جهودهم المشكورة المأجورة في الإعداد والترتيب لهذا المحفل الكبير. وأخص بالشكر كذلك أخي معالي الشيخ عبد الكريم محمد بن عبد الكريم العيسى، الأمين العام لرابطة العالم الإسلامي، لنجتمع معا على كلمة سواء وأجندة مشتركة لما فيه صالح البلاد والعباد. كما أثمن كذلك رؤية مجموعة R20 لتعزيز السلام العالمي وتطوير الحوار بين الحضارات. وقد أضحى هذا المنتدى بفضل هذه الجهود نموذجاً بارزاً لرفع مستوى التعاون بين أتباع الأديان لصالح الإنسانية جميعاً. أيها الإخوة الكرام، إن المسؤولية الأخلاقية والدينية الملقاة على عاتق القادة الدينيين في العالم كله تجاه قضية دعم قيم التعايش المشتركة بين الأديان هي مسؤولية كبيرة، وهي ثقيلة في الوقت نفسه، لأن القادة الدينيين على اختلاف أديانهم هم محل احترام وتقدير من جميع الناس بلا استثناء، وذلك نظرا لما تخلقوا به من سمو الهدف ورفعة الرسالة، وتنزهوا كذلك عن الأطماع السياسية والدنيوية، ولما أقامهم الله سبحانه وتعالى فيه من مقام رفيع لنشر القيم والأخلاق السامية بين الناس جميعا. لذلك كان لزاما عليهم أن يقودوا مسيرة إصلاح الخطاب الديني والابتعاد به عن دائرة العداء والصدام التي تبنتها بعض العقول المتطرفة التي نزعت إلى نشر القيم الشاذة المتشددة التي تتنزه عنها جميع الأديان. ومن أجل تحقيق هذه الغاية الكريمة السامية لا بد من التعاون بين هؤلاء القادة في العالم كله من أجل توحيد الرؤية وتحديد الوسائل المناسبة، وكذلك عمل برامج مدروسة ومنظمة من أجل جمع قلوب الجماهير الغفيرة على نبذ التعصب ونبذ العنصرية، وكذلك البعد عن التمييز على أساس الدين. وقبل ذلك كله وبعده لا بد من ترسيخ ثقافة قبول الآخر واحترام رأيه واعتقاده، وأيضا لا بد من التعاون على المستوى العلمي والأكاديمي من أجل عمل مشروع علمي وكذلك أبحاث علمية رصينة تعمل على برولة هذه القيم في صورة علمية صادقة وجادة تدعم بالمنهج العلمي قيم التعايش المشترك التي دعت إليها جميع الأديان. أيها الإخوة الحضور، إن ثبات القيم الأخلاقية كفيل بحفظ الأمن والأمان في المجتمع مهما اختلفت العقائد ومهما اختلفت الأديان، وأي عبث بالمنظومة الأخلاقية التي تعارف الناس عليها سوف يؤدي إلى عواقب كارثية وخيمة. ومن هنا فنحن حقا في حاجة لتفعيل تلك القيم وتحويلها إلى واقع ملموس في عصرنا الحاضر، بعدما تفاقمت مخاطر قوى شريرة تزكي نيران الكراهية والتعصب والشقاق والطائفية والتطرف والإرهاب وتعتدي على الكرامة الإنسانية. ومن هنا فإننا أحوج ما نكون إلى جهد كبير لترسيخ القيم والأخلاق وقواعد الذوق العام في المجتمعات من خلال المؤسسات الدينية والإعلامية والتعليمية والفنية بواسطة إجراء مبادرات تفعل هذه القيم الراقية حتى نئد الكراهية ونحيي المحبة والسلام. إننا في حاجة لأن يتعاون إعلامنا المعاصر على الحب والإخاء، وألا يتعاون على نشر الكراهية وإزكاء نار الفرقة. نحن في حاجة إلى أن يدرب تعليمنا المعاصر الطلاب صغارا وكبارا على أن يتكافلوا ويتكاملوا في اتفاقهم واختلافهم. أيضا في حاجة إلى أن يكون منطق ومنطلق دعاة حقوق الإنسان في العالم دعوتهم إلى العناية بالإنسان ومساندته بصرف النظر عن اعتبارات الجنس واللون والدين. نحن في حاجة إلى النظر بعين الاعتبار إلى المشترك الإنساني من ناحية، وإلى احترام الخصوصيات والتنوعات من ناحية أخرى. نحن في حاجة إلى أن تنشر مؤسساتنا السلام والمحبة والحوار قولا وفعلا بينها. وفي هذا الإطار قد أخذ علماء الدين الإسلامي على عاتقهم نشر الصورة الصحيحة عن الإسلام، والتي نأمل أن تعطي العالم فهما أفضل عن مبادئ هذا الدين وقيمه الأخلاقية السامية. وإن هذه المشاركة لتأتي في هذا السياق. واسمحوا لي أيها الإخوة الكرام، اسمحوا لي أن أقول إن دار الإفتاء المصرية في الفترات السابقة قد سعت بخطى حسيسة لجمع الشمل وتوطيد الأخوة ونبذ الكراهية في مجال الإفتاء، فأنشأنا الأمانة العامة لدور وهيئات الإفتاء في العالم لنتحاور ونتعاون على البر والتقوى، ونجمع شمل المفتين على المحبة والسلام ونبذ الكراهية محليا وعالميا. وقد حرصت دار الإفتاء أيضا والأمانة العامة لهيئات ودور الإفتاء في العالم على ترجمة هذه القيم في فعالياتها وفتاويها وبياناتها ومبادراتها ومؤتمراتها العالمية المختلفة. وأنشأت الدار مراصدها المختلفة وأطلقت مبادراتها لخدمة هذا المقصد النبيل، فأنشأنا على سبيل المثال مرصداً لفتاوى الكراهية التي يحاول المتطرفون بثها في العالم وينسبونها زوراً وبهتاناً لدين الإسلام. وقد أطلق هذا المرصد أطلقناه باسم مرصد الفتاوى التكفيرية والشاذة، وذلك بالموازاة مع مرصد آخر يرصد ممارسات الكراهية في ثوبها الآخر، في ثوب الكراهية للدين الإسلامي والخوف منه، وأطلقنا عليه مرصد الإسلاموفوبيا، وهو يعنى بما يسمى بالكراهية ضد الإسلام والمسلمين في العالم. كما أطلقنا المؤشر العالمي للفتوى لقياس ثمار الوسطية والكراهية في مجال الإفتاء. ولقد أتى كل من المرصدين والمؤشر أكله طيبا خلال فترة العمل السابقة. وتوجت هذه الجهود بإنشاء مركز سلام لدراسات التطرف الذي يسعى أن يكون مظلة جامعة لكل مراكز الأبحاث المعنية بمكافحة التطرف وقاية وعلاجا. لا شك أننا في هذه المبادرات وبالإضافة إلى النيات الطيبة من هنا وهناك نحن نحتاج إلى مناهج تعليم مساندة ومنابر إعلام معينة، وأن تتبنى كل ذلك أن تتبنى العمل بنتاج هذه المبادرات، بل يتبناها المجتمع بكل مؤسساته الحكومية والمدنية لكي تثمر الثمرة المرجوة. السادة الكرام، إنه مما يطيب لي في نهاية كلمتي أن أشكركم جميعا على هذه الدعوة الطيبة، ولا يسعني في هذا المكان إلا أن أرجو الله سبحانه وتعالى وأتوجه ضارعا إليه أن يعيننا على أن ننشر ثقافة التعايش والأمن والسلام بين أبناء الإنسانية جميعا، وأن يقوي الله سبحانه وتعالى عزمنا في اقتلاع جذور التعصب والتشدد والعنف من عقول أبنائنا جميعا من كل دين وطائفة، فالإنسانية بحاجة إلى العيش في أمن وسلام وتعاون لكي يعم الخير على الجميع، والله سبحانه وتعالى الموفق وهو الهادي إلى سواء السبيل. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين، وشكرا لكم، والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you for His Excellency Sheikh Dr. Shauki Ibrahim Abdel Karim Alam, Grand Mufti of Egypt. Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, now we will have a video speech presented by His Excellency Sheikh Abdullah bin Al-Mahfud bin Bayyah, Chairman of the Emirates Council for Fatwa from Mauritania, United Arab Emirates.
the program was not updated. Sheikh bin Baya was unable to make it to join us, and so we will be followed by Reverend Miyake from Japan.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد النبي الخاتم وعلى إخوانه من الأنبياء والمرسلين، صاحب المعالي والفضيلة الشيخ الدكتور محمد بن عبد الكريم العيسى، الأمين العام لرابطة العالم الإسلامي، رئيس هيئة علماء المسلمين المملكة العربية السعودية، فضيلة الشيخ الدكتور يحيى خليل ستاقوف، الرئيس المؤسس لملتقى الأديان قمة العشرين، رئيس جمعية نهضة العلماء سورية أندونيسيا، أصحاب المعالي والسعادة، أصحاب السماحة والفضيلة، أصحاب الغبطة والنيابة، أيها المشاركون كل باسمه وجميل واسمه، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. يطيب لي أن أتوجه إلى منظمي هذا الملتقى الجليل بجزيل الشكر على الدعوة لهذا اللقاء الهام، مع الاعتذار لعدم التمكن من الحضور معكم مباشرة لظروف صحية، لكن ما لا يدرك كله لا يترك كله. اسمحوا لي بين يدي هذه الجلسة أن أقدم بعض الأفكار السريعة التي أرجو أن تكون إسهاما بالتفكير في هذا الموضوع الملح المؤتمر ومنطلق الحوار حوله. كما لا يفوتني في مطلع هذه الكلمة أن أنوه بالجهود الجليلة التي تقوم بها وعليها رابطة العالم الإسلامي بقيادة معالي صاحب الفضيلة الشيخ الدكتور محمد بن عبد الكريم العيسى في نشر قيم التسامح والتعايش في أرجاء العالم، وانطلاقا من مبادئ وثيقة مكة المكرمة التاريخية. وأيضا أثني كذلك على جهود جمعية نهضة العلماء برئاسة فضيلة الشيخ يحيى خليل ستاقوف. هذه الجمعية الرائدة بتعزيز السلم الأهلي وقيم الاعتدال والمحبة داخل أندونيسيا وخارجها. أيها الإخوة والأخوات، يأتي هذا المؤتمر في وضع دولي مضطرب يزيد مستوى التحديات التي تواجه البشرية، من تحديات الأزمة الصحية التي لا تزال تلقي بظلالها على أجزاء من العالم، إلى تحديات الاقتصاد والتضخم الذي تشهده الأسواق العالمية، إلى تحدي الأمن وخطر الحروب والتوترات الحاصلة في مناطق من العالم. لقد أكدت الأزمات الراهنة والتوترات الحاصلة أن السلم كل لا يتجزأ، وأن أي إخلال به في منطقة من العالم تنعكس آثاره على البشرية في كل مكان. الحروب في هذا الزمان لا تقف آثارها عند الحدود الجغرافية لميدان المعركة، بل تتعداها إلى باقي أصقاع العالم، كما بيّنت الحرب الدائرة حاليا في أجزاء من العالم أن شياطين الحروب ما تزال كامنة في النفوس، ولذا فإن مسؤولية القيادات الدينية كما رجال السياسة معالجة هذه الأفكار في النفوس والأذهان قبل أن تخرج إلى العيان. إن الوعي بهذه الضرورة هو الذي يوجه هذا المؤتمر، حيث نستشعر جميعا الحاجة إلى أن تتكامل أدوارنا انطلاقا من مواقعنا ودوائر تأثيرنا، نسهم في استعادة الضمير الأخلاقي الإنسانية الذي يعيد الفاعلية لقيم الرحمة والغوث ومعاني التعاون والإحسان. لا شك أن درجة التشابك بين مصائر الشعوب وأوضاعها في سياق العولمة المعاصرة فرضت الشعور الواعي بحقيقة الانتماء للبشرية كعائلة كبرى وللأرض كوطن أشمل، وهو ما يسميه البعض مواطنة كونية مطلوب التحقق بها من خلال تجسيد روح ركاب السفينة الذي ضرب بها النبي التي ضرب بها النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم مثل في الحديث الصحيح: روح ركاب السفينة الذين يؤمنون بالمسؤولية المشتركة وبالحرية المسؤولة المرشدة وبواجب التضامن والتعاون. بروح ركاب السفينة نشيد عالما تتضافر فيه ثمرات العقول لفائدة الجميع، فلا يستأثر بها القوي ويحتكرها الغني، عالما تتنافس فيه الأمم بالخير ولكل وجهة هو موليها، فاستبقوا الخيرات إلى الله مرجعكم جميعا، كما قال ربنا عز وجل في كتابه العزيز. عالما تستبق فيه الدول في تقديم الضيافة التي تستند إلى الكرامة الإنسانية، والتي تجعلك ترى الغريب قريبا تراه أخا وصديقا، تقابله بحسن الظن، تؤويه إلى بيتك وتبذل له البر والإحسان من غير سابق معرفة بينكم. أيها الحضور الكريم، لقد برز دور القيادات الدينية في العقود الأخيرة من خلال عملها الدؤوب لإيجاد فرص للسلام، وذلك من خلال جهود نظرية وعملية. أما النظري منها فيتعلق بتأكيد دعوة الدين إلى السلام، وأن الدين في أصله دعوة للسلم، وهذا يستبطن الرد على النظريات التي تعتبر أن السلام لا يمكن أن يكون دائما ومستمرا إلا باستبعاد الدين من الحياة العامة، وتربطه بشكل تلقائي بين الدين والعنف، ليكون ذلك أساسا للدعوة إلى المفاصلة بين الدين والدنيا كحل وحيد لإرساء أسباب التسامح والتعايش في المجتمع. لكن الحروب في القرن الأخير على الأقل، وبخاصة الحربين العالمية الأولى والثانية، لم تكن دينية والمنطلق الديني، كما أن الحروب الدائرة الآن ليست حروبا دينية، بل كانت حروبا استراتيجية، حروب نفوذ تعيد توزيع المجالات والفضاءات، وترسم خرائط الموارد، تقسم الأسواق، وتحدد طرائق المبادلات والمواصلات. هكذا قامت القيادات الدينية من مختلف الأديان بجهود لتبرهن على أن الدين قوة سلام، من خلال العودة إلى نصوصهم المقدسة ليستثيروها، وإلى تراثهم الماضي ليستبدوا منه الأسس المتينة للتسامح والتعايش، ويستلهموا النماذج المضيئة التي يسهم إحياؤها في إرساء قيم الخير والسلام في نفوس معتنق الديانات. لأنه بالرجوع إلى النصوص وإلى التأويل المناسب والمقارب يمكننا التصدي لمروج الكراهية والعنف. كما انتهضت هذه القيادات في الآن نفسه للكشف عن المشتركات بينها لتستبعد الحروب والصدام فيما بينها، تلك المشتركات التي تصون كرامة الإنسان وترفع من شأنه من خلال العناية بما نسميه في الإسلام بالكليات الخمس، وهي الدين والحياة والعقل والملكية والعائلة، والتي نعتبر أنها هي أساس المشترك الديني بين كل الشرائع والملل، فجميعها جاءت بحفظها ورعايتها. كما نشترك على مستوى أشمل مع سائر البشرية في المشترك الإنساني الذي هو القيم الكونية التي لا تختلف فيها العقول ولا تتأثر بتغير الزمان أو محددات المكان أو نوازع الإنسان. إنها الحقوق الطبيعية الفطرية التي يرثها كل إنسان بفضل وجوده، وهي حقوق إلهية المصدر ممنوحة للمؤمن وغير المؤمن. قال تعالى: ولقد كرمنا بني آدم وحملناهم في البر والبحر. وفي هذا السياق أصدرت وثائق لها وزرها، وهي مواثيق ووثائق تقوم على تشجيع مبادئ الكرامة الإنسانية، كما تدعو في الوقت نفسه إلى مبادئ التسامح والسلم والرحمة والتضامن. تؤسس بذلك لنموذج متوازن من التسامح المهذب والحرية المسؤولة والمواطنة الإيجابية والاقتصاد الإيجابي المتضامن. ومن ذلك على سبيل المثال وثيقة مكة المكرمة التاريخية، ووثيقة الأخوة الإنسانية، ووثيقة كلمة السواء، وكذلك الوثائق التي أصدرناها في منتدى أبو ظبي للسلم، كوثيقة الحلف الفضول وإعلانات مراكش وواشنطن وأبو ظبي. أيها السادة الأجلاء، إن الانتقال بهذه المبادئ من حيز التنظير إلى واقع التجسيد أمر ممكن ومطلوب، بحيث لا تكون هذه الوثائق مجرد مبادئ مبادئ نظرية منتوتة الصلة بالواقع لا فاعلية لها، بل يجب العمل على ترجمتها وبلورتها لمناهج عملية وبرامج تطبيقية تنزل في المدارس تعليما للناس، وفي المعابد تعاليم للمؤمنين، وفي ساحة الصراع وميادين النزاع طمأنينة تحل في النفوس وأمل يعمر القلوب. إن مؤتمركم اليوم مدعو لمتابعة النضال في أفضل السبل لتفعيل جهود القيادات الدينية والخروج بخطوات عملية لتحقيق ذلك، كما أن انعقادها الملتقى وبين اجتماع قمة العشرين الذي تستضيفه جمهورية أندونيسيا فرصة لإيصال رسالة القيادات الدينية في الحاجة الماسة إلى تعزيز السلم، وأهم مخرجات المؤتمر إلى قادة الدول الكبرى مشاركين في تلك القمة الهامة. وفي سياق السلم أصبحت دولتنا الإمارات العربية المتحدة بقيادة صاحب السمو رئيس الدولة الشيخ محمد بن زايد حفظه الله مثابة للسلم ومأوى لمورد الخير، حيث احتضنت وثائق ومبادرات الحوار والسلام، وكانت أول دولة تنشئ وزارة خاصة بالتسامح والتعايش، بل جعلت قمة السلم إحدى المبادئ العشرة الرئيسية لاستراتيجية الدولة في 50 سنة القادمة. وختاما أرجو أن يكون هذا الاجتماع بالقيادات الدينية على هذا المستوى الرفيع إسهاما في نشر السلام والوئام في العالم أجمع، متمنيا لهذا المؤتمر النجاح والتوفيق، والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, now we would like to invite His Grace Archbishop Henry Ndukuba, Primate of the Anglican Church of Nigeria.
His Excellency, President of the Republic of Indonesia, Your Royal Highnesses, revered religious leaders, and leaders of thoughts in our communities and countries all over the world, permit me to stand on the existing protocol. We give thanks to God for such an opportunity to gather as religious leaders to consider the important place of religion in improving our human existence. I am speaking from Nigeria, and I bring you greetings from brothers and sisters and the good citizens of Nigeria. I'm also speaking from the Anglican Church, in which the Church of Nigeria Anglican Communion is one of the largest Anglican Communion provinces in the world, as we serve more than 25 million regular worshippers and members. I'm also speaking from the Global South, which is the epicenter of the growth of Christianity in our world today. And as we are here, in spite of all the challenges that are confronting us, many are turning to Christ Jesus. And yet, we are in the part of the world where we face much persecution, oppression, and afflictions. And in fact, Nigeria will be a test case for whatever we may decide in this conference. But let me start by bringing out two important foundational points. For us in Nigeria and in Africa, we take spiritual reality, especially in our materialistic world, very seriously. Africans are said to be very spiritually oriented and religious, and so we are. And across the religions in our continent, we share deep awareness that we live our lives in a world that we did not create, and with spiritual realities. We must take this into account. Secondly, it is our hope that as the leaders of nations, that we have this moment and the privilege of political, economic, and other social influential powers to be able to change the narrative of humanity for good. And we want to thank God for this opportunity given to us. Another thing we want to stress is that service is at the core of life and leadership. Jesus Christ said that he came not to be served, but to serve and to give his life as a ransom for many. This also was emphasized by the Archbishop of Canterbury during his message at the funeral of the late Queen Elizabeth of England. People of love, of loving service are rare in any walk of life, but leaders of loving service are still rarer. But in all cases, those who serve will be loved and remembered when those who cling to power and privileges are long forgotten. And loving and selfless service is at the core of who we are as Christians, which is also common in our religious traditions. And as we may see, even as Christians in Nigeria, we are constrained by the love of God to serve and to help those that are in need. That even in the face of hardship, persecution, marginalization, and suffering, we continue to commit ourselves to dialogue, to loving, and to serving humanity and God. Service to God and humanity may be impeded by religious extremism, by any one religious community against others. And the challenge we have in Nigeria, mostly as religious communities, is the problem of religious extremism. You are not unaware of the challenges we face in our communities from religious extremism, both now and as a result of such extremism in the past. We are speaking from the context of affliction faced by our Christian communities in Nigeria from terrorism and attacks. These attacks happen both in the northern, central, and other parts of Nigeria. And such attacks have ended up in terrorizing our communities, displacing local populations of Christians and communities so that they flee and leave their land and property. Christians in Nigeria, since the beginning of our nation, have persistently faced persecution, especially in northern part of Nigeria, and have learned to live with it. What has been of great concern in the past decade or more is the increasing attack an all-out attack and violence against Christians and their communities since the year 2000, especially as we see in the attacks of Boko Haram, the radical Islamic sect in the Northeast, and also the Al-Qaeda sect and ISIL affiliates since the year 2009, and subsequently the recent Islamic Hasme militia. Nigeria is now one of the most dangerous countries to be a Christian. Thousands of people have been killed by these well-organized, well-equipped, and well-funded extremists. And over 150 towns and villages have been sacked. There are over 2 million internally displaced people, and thousands more have been kidnapped for sex and ransom. Churches and poor families are now forced to pay millions of naira for their kidnapped relatives. And over a dozen citizens and pastors have been martyred. It's more than a dozen, in their hundreds. They have been martyred by these extremists. This is a cause, in addition to the hundreds of churches that have been attacked, bombed, and destroyed. We live daily in great fear. But the most important issue is the way this has been interpreted. The real issue in this violence is not clash of tribes or issue of climate change as it is officially presented. This is genocide. It must be called by its name. What is most problematic in the current situation is that very few world leaders are willing to listen to the victims. Even when the United Kingdom All-Party Parliamentary Group on Religious Freedom reported that Nigerian Christians are facing genocide in increasing way, the Western nations and other governments insist that this is just a matter of tribal clashes between the pastoralists and the farmers, both fighting for scarce economic resources caused by climate change. Politically, this may sound politically correct, but this is a disinformation which aims to be a strategic way of pushing the real issues aside. And this may have been promoted by some of our Nigerian politicians and other groups who benefit from these undeclared massacres through various corrupt monetary and security and sales of arms and ammunition with which these heinous crimes are being committed. There is need for a change in our understanding of what we are suffering. Islamic groups have also carried out targeted killings in areas that have nothing to do with climate change factors. And people have suffered and families have been decimated. What do Christians in Nigeria want? Christians in Nigeria simply want the killings to stop and for the victims of this violence to get justice. We have been working on rebuilding communities, developing educational institutions destroyed by these extremists and providing food and medical assistance to the victims. We need you to join hands with us to rebuild our nation. We need you to help us to tell our stories. We have testimonies, facts, and truths about these events and happenings. We want to rebuild our communities and a global religious family. And as a religious global family, we need your prayers and also your support in helping us deal with these problems. As a result of religious extremism and an ever-increasing number of orphans, widows, homeless people who have been driven out of their homes and farms and means of livelihood, we create more social and economic problems. Therefore, we ask, at such a time as this, that you come to our aid. The impact of these terrorist attacks. Number one, words and concepts are powerful. We have continuously seen that even children from childhood are taught and given words that are derogatory, name-calling to those who do not belong to their communities, including attacks even on moderate Islamic groups. Even in our dialogues, in seeking for good relationship, peaceful coexistence, we use words and concepts which do not hold the same meaning for all of us. Therefore, there is need for us to have words that are acceptable, concepts that can convey our meanings and actually what we want to discuss with each other. Secondly, the impact of what we are seeing is that we have much insecurity in our communities. Traveling in Nigeria is very dangerous with the ever-increasing risk of kidnapping and violent attacks. Thirdly, we have economic impact. Nigeria is a country with great natural resources that will be able to benefit not only our population, but other countries. But it is held back from developing and sharing these wonderful gifts of God for the good of all by insecurity, uncertainty, fear, and distrust which is generated by religious conflict. What can this conference do for us or help us to achieve? Number one of the key aims of our gathering is to address and, where possible, stop such outrages. We in Nigeria need the help of people of goodwill from all religious communities to stop the flow of arms and blood, stop the funding and other resources that empower the extremists. Secondly, here in Indonesia, you are committed to and practice religious pluralism and tolerance. Such an approach would be very beneficial to the global community, especially where religious extremism abounds. Living with and managing our religious and cultural diversities as a source of strength rather than a way that threatens our lives together in the society must be exploited and be made good use of. Therefore, we are looking forward to the outcome of this conference, hoping that it will help us in living together and managing our religious and cultural diversities in Nigeria in such a way that these will be a blessing to our society rather than a cause. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you, His Grace Archbishop Henry Ndukuba, Primate of the Anglican Church of Nigeria. And now we move forward to our next speaker. That will be retired Reverend Yoshinobu Miyake, Chair of the Board, International Shinto Studies Association from Japan. Please welcome Honorable Yoshinobu Miyake.
Your Holinesses, Your Excellencies, Venerables, Eminence, Reverends, and ladies and gentlemen. Selamat pagi and Assalamu alaikum. Let me express my great joy and the honor to have the opportunity to be here with you gathering from all over the world. It is my privilege to give my greetings at the opening plenary session of the first annual R20 summit. My name is Yoshinobu Miyake, a Shinto priest coming from Osaka, Japan. Shinto is the original indigenous religion of Japan. It is closely concerned to the traditional Japanese value system and the world view and the behavior of most Japanese. Some might refer to Shinto as a natural religion because it is intimately linked to the respect for every aspect of our natural environment. Those who have visited Japan will know that our culture places a great emphasis upon respecting and preserving the nature environment and maintaining the harmony between human and nature. As may be seen in the more than 100,000 Shinto shrines and 80,000 Buddhist temples scattered throughout the Japanese archipelago. Personally, I am a descendant of long-line Shinto priests going back my generations. My grandfather, the late Reverend Toshio Miyake, was a pioneer of interfaith dialogue, which he initiated during World War II. In 1970, he established the organization such as Non-Religion for Peace. I am sure he would be pleased were he to witness the global initiative we are launching today under the auspicious Nahdlatul Ulama, the government of Indonesia, and Muslim World League. 1/4 of all human beings is Muslim. Of all world Muslim majority nations, Indonesia is largest. I have high expectation of Indonesia's leadership in the Muslim world. For Indonesia, despite its Muslim majority, is not self-righteousness. Rather, it is tolerant of Hinduism, Buddhism, indigenous religions, as can be seen here in Bali. and provide a model case for human society in the 21st century. I know this from my personal experience, having been a friend of Nahdlatul Ulama's former chairman and Indonesia's late president, Abdul Rahman Wahid, who was a living example of the remarkable depths of the wisdom of Indonesian Islam. For several years, I served as the General Secretary of the G8, G7 Religious Leaders Summit. Hence, I have thought long and hard about the challenges facing humanity and the role of the organizations such as the G20, which represent 60% of world population and 90% of world GDP. To date, however, intergovernmental bodies such as G20 have proven incapable of preventing the economic crisis and resolving the deep-seated conflict between East and West, and between North and South, that means between developed and developing countries. Now is the time for world religious leaders to step forward, address these issues, and resolve these conflicts. Terima kasih, syukran, thank you.
San Egidio community from Italy. Please welcome Dr. Valeria Martano.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, Sahabat, Terkasi. It's an honor to take the floor at this summit that gathers in the frame of the G20 representatives of world religions, scholars, activists, to give voice to the concerns and the hopes of many, each one of us according with our own traditions. And it's particularly meaningful that this summit is hosted by Indonesia, a nation that has placed Bhinneka Tunggal Ika, unity in diversity, of faiths and cultures, as the core of its identity, a model of the civil coexistence. We stand in a dramatic historical passage, in the midst of what has been defined as a polycrisis, synthesized by 3C: COVID, conflicts, climate. We are facing great challenges: the multiplication of conflicts in various regions of the world, and recently in the heart of Europe, in Ukraine, with the threat of a nuclear escalation, the disruption of ecosystems, a result of the reckless exploitation of the resources of the Mother Earth, which generates not only poverty, but also migrations, human trafficking, the onset of diseases and pandemics. What can religion say and do in the face of this polymorphic crisis? We are aware that religions do not have any political or economic power. They yet have enormous potential for pacification. Actually, to borrow the words of an Anglican theologian, Miroslav Volf, that they are the original globalizers. as they profess universal values and believe in a single human family. Actually, religions are not separate worlds from each other and from reality, but we are living organisms, deeply connected with the pains, expectations, and anxieties of humanity. This makes us, as a great Catholic Pope, Paul VI, said, speaking for the first time at the United Nations Assembly in 1965, we are experts in humanity. Yes, we, men and women of faith, are experts in humanity. Compassion and mercy that are in the heart of every believer, whatever religion he or she may profess, make us challenged by poverty, by the suffering of the victims of wars or persecutions, as we heard recently from the Nigerian bishop, from migrants, from prisoners. Their desperate cries claim peace. In 1986, Pope John Paul II, in the first meeting among religious representatives gathered by a Catholic Pope in Assisi, spoke of peace as a building site open to all, inviting not only specialists, but all men and women to take part in it. The community of Sant'Egidio, which I represent here, since that moment has multiplied its commitment at global level to promote the so-called spirit of Assisi. Our spiritual pillars, which can be summarized as prayer, poor, and peace, constitute an inclusive platform for its implementation. On this path, since 1990, Sant'Egidio has established a privileged link with Indonesia. The late Abdurrahman Wahid Gusdur, which I consider my mentor and guide, who defined himself a Gandhian Muslim, a man of peace and dialogue, embodied in those years the hope of a democratic and pluralistic Indonesia, inclusive in its diversity. In the wake of Gusdur, Indonesia has taken up the challenge of building itself as a pluralistic society. And Sant'Egidio, thanks to the deep bond established with him, has developed over the years an intense collaboration with the Great Muslims Association that represented the backbone of Indonesian Islam, Nahdlatul Ulama and Muhammadiyah. Thank you. With whom we have made agreements that have produced concrete collaboration at a national and international level. It's not possible in this context to recall all the stages of this collaboration. I only want to mention the latest. Last June in Rome, Yahya, Staquf, General Chairman of PBNU, and the President of Sant'Egidio has renewed an MOU that formalizes the long-standing collaboration of the two institutions on issues of interreligious dialogue, humanitarian action, and promotion of peace. The MOU starts a common commitment, I quote, to cooperate both at the basic level and at the macro level to develop and implement strategies to facilitate conflict resolutions, reconciliation, and peace, particularly in regions where religion teachings and identities are being weaponized to foster communal hatred, supremacy, and violence. And it foresees common action, particularly in the Middle East and in Africa, in Nigeria especially. In conclusion, today, religions are much closer than used to be. Barriers of mistrust rooted in history have been broken down, and cooperation between believers of different faiths is perhaps the greatest novelty of this century. A clear example is given by the document on human fraternity signed by Pope Francis and the Grand Imam Al-Tayeb in Abu Dhabi in 2019. If the path taken so far has led us to understand the importance of shared values for the de-weaponization of identities and for the progress of our civilizations, I believe that today it's the time for a further step, for a commitment to strengthen multilateral cooperation platforms at regional and global level, to imagine and implement concrete ways of cooperation in the field of peacekeeping, struggle against poverty, sake of the planet. May our shared values develop into a shared commitment in shared actions in a concrete practice of cooperation for the world peace. Thank you. Terima kasih.
Presentation. And now we would have the next and the final presentation of this plenary session. We would like to invite His Grace Archbishop Thomas Schimacher, Secretary General, World Evangelical Alliance from Germany. Please welcome Archbishop Thomas Schimacher.
It is a great privilege to bring warm greetings from the World Evangelical Alliance and our 600 million Christians in most every country in the world whom we represent and connect. May God bless you and give you the wisdom needed for all your responsibilities. Our team from the World Evangelical Alliance met in Jakarta with a team from the Nahdlatul Ulama 3 years ago to plan joint efforts to promote civilizational values as Christians and Muslims working together. We are people of goodwill. We do not want to use violence against each other, but instead want to engage in rational discourse with each other and promote a free and just society in which we all can live. And I recall that at that time it even was said in the media that we fight for the freedom to do mission to each other while we are discussing, because we want to know what the other one really thinks about. I grew up in Germany at a time when our country was addressing problems and questions that now face our global society. We were not only dealing with our responsibility for the Nazi regime that had perpetrated the Holocaust and destroyed tens of millions of ordinary people. 50 million people were killed in the whole time. We were also painfully aware that in less than 40 years our people had tried and were trying several radically different ways of organizing society, at least 3 of them of which had strong ideological foundations. All 3 of these ideological ways of organizing societies led to disaster. We had been until 1918 the German Empire, led by a powerful Caesar, Kaiser. And our empire used religion to get power inside the minds of the people. During World War I, our imperial soldiers were belt buckles with "God with us" on their belt. And soldiers believed in that. This organization of society, combining an empire with religious ideology, contributed to the death of millions. And the destruction was so extensive that some of those battlefields, and I live close to this area, of a century ago are still off limits, except for the one or the other scientist to study things there. The ideology of National Socialism replaced the ideology of a German Christian empire, but it also was a religious ideology. It was filled with religious symbols and rituals, while the party became a kind of big religious community. Some branches of the movement used Christian terminology to support Hitler. I wrote my PhD dissertation on Hitler's religion of war. A dysfunctional religion became an imperial ideology, and this memory should haunt us forever. While then in West Germany, we were dealing with our responsibilities for those two ideological empires, our East German cousins were under communism. The communists primarily had Christianity and Judaism in mind when they called religion the opiate of the people. But of course, they meant us all. Communism was so anti-religious that it became a religion itself. Its ideology reminded many of us of Christian theology, but with several themes turned upside down. It lived by an eschatology. Many people, including some of my current friends, fled from West Germany to West Germany. This time, at least, the mess of 40 years found a peaceful end. Our West German constitution and system of organizing society is designed to prevent Dutch horrors in the future. But in an open, free society, it is not possible for state officials to proclaim what the people will believe and have to believe and what values they have to follow. One of our High Court judges, Justice Ernst Wolfgang Böckenförde, a typical German name, you don't need to try to repeat it, Böckenförde, summarized the issue well in what is called the Böckenförde dilemma. He declared, the liberal secular state lives on the basis of propositions. It cannot create and guarantee itself. Again, it lives on the basis of propositions which it cannot create and guarantee itself. What that means is a state can proclaim and enforce a law that says murder is wrong. But the non-ideological state has no moral binding basis for the explanation, which has to come from religion and from faith. In the original conference of the WA in London in 1948, the 800 delegates from all over the world propagated the end of the horrendous evil of slavery. Many of our first leaders were leaders in the anti-slavery fight. Perhaps the most surprising speaker at the event was Reverend Madison Clark, black pastor of the African Methodist Episcopal Church in Washington, D.C. In our WA history, we see especially three values or principles that merit a place in a global platform of civilization values which we want to build up. Number one, humans have a unique God-given greatness which includes dignity and creativity, which should not be touched. That is why we seek to help and respect people regardless of race, age, gender. We have to distinguish between what it means to be a human and other forms of creation. Second, humans possess a unique fallibility. Nature can cause a hurricane, flood, or earthquake. People can cause a Holocaust, senseless wars, genocide, sexual abuse, slavery. The first account of murder in the Bible is Cain killing his brother, Abel, illustrating how our most human activity can become dysfunctional and unleash our vast fallibility. And we need to take this into account when building up a civilization of values. And last, not least, and very short, helpless people need very practical love from others to assure a life worth it. Böckenförde called our attention to a distinctive line in the preamble of our German constitution. It starts out, in conscience of our responsibility before God and man. It does not force anyone to believe in this, but it clearly says that whatever the state is doing, it has a layer behind it that is our responsibility, whether the human dignity leads to values that make people living in our societies happy citizens who are happy that there are certain values and certain protections they have. And we are eager to cooperate with all people of goodwill, and we believe that it is time for people of faith, of the religions of this world, to stand up and say, we stand up for civilization, we stand up for specific values and for the protection of humans, of human dignity, because everybody walking on this earth owes his life to God the Creator.
Bishop Piero Piepo, Apostolic Nuncio to Indonesia, and then His Holiness Swami Sri Govind Dev Giri Maharaj Trustee Sri Krishna Jambongi Trust from India, His Excellency Sheikh Dr. Shauki Ibrahim Abdul Karim Alam, Grand Mufti of Egypt, Retired Reverend Yoshinobu Miyake, Chair of the Board International Shinto Studies Association from Japan, His Grace Archbishop Henry Ndukuba, Primate of the Anglican Church of Nigeria, Honorable Dr. Valeria Martano, San Egidio Community from Italy, and also His Grace Archbishop Thomas Hemacher, and would like to request Bapak Yahya Khalil Staquf to present a token of appreciation for each of our delegates. To express our gratitude and appreciation for your presence and for your attention. Thank you very much. After presenting the token of appreciation, we would like to invite Bapak Yahya Khalil Staquf to have photo session with all speakers on the stage. Thank you. We are proudly to inform you that Nahdlatul Ulama, NU or NU, became the initiator and founder of G20 Religion Forum with the goal to overcome the religious problems and to develop partnership between the world religious leaders to ensure religion functions as genuine and dynamic solution in this 21st century. Ini adalah satu bukti nyata dan peran nyata dari Nahdlatul Ulama yang bertindak selaku inisiator sehingga terwujudlah pelaksanaan G20 Religion Forum pada hari ini. Mohon untuk foto bersama terlebih dahulu. Bapak Kiai Haji Yahya Khalil Staquf. Please give a big round of applause for the token presentation and also the photo session and all events this afternoon. Thank you very much indeed for your presence and your attention. And we would like to invite you to Karang Asem Ballroom to have lunch break for approximately 40 minutes. And afterward, we would like to request you to return to this arena of discussion to continue our panel or our plenary session. Thank you very much. We hope that you will be back in this ballroom at 2:15 p.m. Bali time. Thank you very much and see you this afternoon. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Kami persilahkan Bapak Ibu untuk menuju ke Karangasem Ballroom untuk menikmati hidangan yang tersaji dalam kesempatan santap siang bersama hingga pukul 2:15 waktu Bali, dan mohon kembali sekali lagi pada pukul 2:15 untuk melanjutkan acara plenary session. Selamat menikmati hidangan siang. Please do enjoy your lunch, enjoy your food, and we'll be right back on 2:15 this afternoon.